Hello, everyone. Let me get this thing here straightened out here because my computer is acting kind of goofy at the moment. So I want to make sure I don't have any crosstalk. Anyway, hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Modelers Chat here, hosted by me and some of the other cool dudes here. Today, we're going to be talking about weathering your models, what tools you use and products do you use, things like that. You guys got any suggestions? Put them in the chat there. You got any questions? Drop them in the chat there, and then we'll just see who pops in. So today we have Dominic Geraci. We got Michael Wheaton. And
good evening.
Joe, Fighting Joe. Let's go. Hey, Josh, what's going on, fellas? How was your week? Hello? Can you hear me?
It got very quiet.
Yeah, how is
Yeah,
it?
pretty quiet.
My girlfriend's gone for the weekend, so I got the whole weekend free.
There you go. Well, which girlfriend?
Depends on which one's listening.
now.
Just the one that you count, right?
Yeah.
Hey, lots of scotch. How you doing, brother? So how'd your week go, guys? What do you guys got? Anything planned for the 4th?
Just going to sit home and relax.
My daughter's got her first apartment, and she invited me over for a barbecue. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
Should be interesting. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to a Cuban restaurant. Never had Cuban food.
Ooh,
But,
never?
No, never.
You're in for a treat, bro. You're in for a treat.
Her boyfriend's Cuban, and they said to me, "We want to take you out. We didn't get to take you out for Father's Day." So I said, "Well, where do you want to go?" She goes, "Well, you want to go to an Italian place or Chinese?" I said, "We always have that." I said, "He's Cuban. I said, let's go find someplace Cuban. He's got to know someplace good." She goes, "Oh, he's so excited now."
Yeah. Get yourself some lechon, some arroz con habichuela.
I'll just tell him, as long as it doesn't have onions and peppers in it, you can order whatever you want.
How about you, Mike? You gonna go golfing?
Yeah, probably on a little bit on Sunday. I think I'm going to put a chicken in the roast in the smoker, and when I get back, it'll be ready.
Sweet, nice.
And, or maybe some ribs. I'm not sure. My daughter's still trying to decide what she wants.
Nice.
Now, for those of you that follow me on Facebook, there's Tommy. What's going on?
Morning, guys.
For those of you guys that follow me on Facebook, you saw something that I posted yesterday. Look at that. I got the state of Florida tattooed on my forehead here.
Shouldn't have said that to her.
That's what I get for talking shit about Florida, right? I was outside. The air conditioner guy had to come out because I think my air conditioner stopped working, so we had to call somebody to come and take a look at it. And as he's looking at it, he says, "Hey, you need to clean this out, because the vents were dirty." He says, "You need to clean it out." He says, "I can do it. It'll be about $100, or you just do it." I said, "Fuck, I'm going to do it." As I'm walking to get the hose, and because it's so wet and muddy out in my backyard, I'm trying to avoid muddy spots by the flower beds. So I come around. There's a big oak tree next to the garage, and they got I've got the big roots there. Man, if I don't catch one of those roots and go flying. Boom! Right on my fucking head. I turn around. I'm all full of mud. And I'm thinking I'm okay. My back hurts, but other than that, I'm just bruised ego. I turn around. My wife's like, "Oh my God!" And my daughter's like, "We gotta take him to the hospital." Oh yeah, I gotta go to the damn hospital. So I take the phone. And I look. And I got this big old mouse on my head, So I started to laugh. I told my wife, "I'm gonna tell everybody you whooped my ass, man. You whooped my ass." I tell everybody I told you to go make me a sandwich, and I just woke up on the floor. The next minute I was out, But yeah, and then Dominic tells me an interesting story. What was it? What was your story there, Dom?
I stepped out of my shoe going up the stairs and dumped my coffee into my
Into his shoe.
Yeah, that was the worst part. Was I broke my Corvette.
Oh, that's fucked up.
But it's fixable.
Now that's not broke so bad that you can't fix it, right?
No, but it's my shoe with the coffee in it.
The coffee
No.
right in the shoe, man.
Come here.
Yeah, that was.
Hey, Tommy, what do you
take
got
it
planned
as
for
bad
the
on
4th?
as you did, though.
Yeah, really, isn't it?
For the 4th, we'll start off by taking my mom to church. She hasn't been to church in a year, so we'll do that. And then my nephew has a big block party, so we'll head over there for the day.
Well, excuse me while you guys are, go ahead and chit chat while I fire up this stove. I deserve it. I told my wife I'm lighting a cigar downstairs because you beat the shit out of me.
Well, the problem with me is falling down is pretty much an everyday occurrence. So my wife will look at me and go, "You fell down again?" Yeah. What are you doing? Nothing.
Problem is, Gil, now she's got someplace to hit you where it won't show.
Oh no, yeah, really, right up there where the hat covers it. And they're making fun of me this morning. My wife says, "Looks like a baby just stomped you on the head. Got like a little baby foot there." I'm like, "Nah, man, it looks like Florida." I've been talking shit about Florida, and bam.
Paint little toes above it.
Yeah, really, isn't it right here? Put a couple little toes right there. Yeah.
My granddaughter's foot.
So hey, before we talk, I was thinking about it, and somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier this week about weathering and the tools and stuff like that there. So I think it'd be good to get into that. What do you guys think? Talk about a little weathering and what tools you use, what products you use. But so hey, let's start with guys, pick it up. Whenever you want to jump in. So weathering. What do you weather, or when you have a model, when do you decide that you should weather it? Tommy?
Some of the products I use are clay washes. I'll use some of the MIG stuff. Some oils. For the trains, a lot of times I use powders. And it comes at the end. It's when I weather. And also, weathering, I can hide some of my mistakes. Some of them.
Now, I got a question for you, Tommy, on those weathering powders that you got there. Now, yeah. I have a bunch of pigment powders here, from all, from AK, from MIG. I got some that somebody sent me from Broken Toad. I've got some from Cromlech, but they all seem to, when you go to throw a clear on there, unless you put a pigment powder on it, they come off. Now, I was told those railroad ones don't. Is that true?
I don't put a clear on my powders. They wear off, and you just apply more powder.
So they're like any other pigment powder.
Yeah, they last pretty good, but especially with trains, you're always picking them up. You're always moving them around, so it's not a static model. So you're always grabbing them. So you always repowder. If you want it to keep the same look. But something like this airplane doesn't get touched, and so there's powder on this one too. But.
Yeah, I found out if you dull coat powder, it disappears.
Yeah.
With the dull coat?
Yeah. So I dull coat first, and I put powders on it.
Yeah, I whenever I'm using powders, I don't seal them afterwards.
Yeah.
I seal it before I put with a matte finish.
Right.
Because with a gloss, it just slides everywhere. But use like a matte finish, and then put them on there, and then I don't touch it after that because I learned a long time ago when I first started doing this with those powders. Looked real good. I hit it with a dull coat, gone. Everything was gone. It's just gone. So yeah, I mean, Joe, what do you think? What's your preferred method of doing it?
As far as powders?
Well, weathering in general, or powders, whatever. Just
For me, weathering starts in the paint. I might do up to 10 sessions of painting.
Yeah.
Just doing that to get the faded look, and I use powders, I use oils.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The oils I'm still learning a little bit about. The powders I've kind of gotten away from a little bit. But to me, everything starts with the paint.
Yeah, I've been using. You mentioned the oils, and what I've been doing was. Hold on, who's this? Jeeves. Okay, give the blessing, brother. You can't give the blessing because you got a messed up thumb. There it is. I've been
Still works.
what I ended up using, and I found works for me, Joe, is I do a lot. Most of my weathering is with, like you said, with the paint. With the paint.
Right.
A fiberglass pen, to help scratch it. Different layers.
Yeah.
Oils. I don't use. I've got the mixed enamel stuff. I haven't used them as much over the years. I like the dust though, the buff, because that makes a good dust. If you're trying to dust something,
Right.
that's pretty good. But I found that when I use the oils and then I put a little pigment powder on them, the oil helps it to stick. So it doesn't blow off. Once you clear it. So. But
I was experimenting with, spraying the dull coat on a little bit wet and trying to put the powders on when it was a little bit wet. I haven't really gotten any kind of results out of it, but
we got Steve Sutton sitting in the green room. I know you can hear me, Steve. Give me a minute, man. We'll bring somebody in and out. That's the way we work. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
But powders they seem to be finicky to me. Sometimes you get this really fantastic result, and other times, at least in my experience, you don't come even close to what you're thinking.
Well, it's when you work with powders, especially coming from like stuff I work on, like Gundams and stuff like that. It's the substrate you're working with underneath. If you don't like Gil was saying, if you use an oil and you put that oil down and then you put the powder over it, you get a good decent result, because you got to have something holding on. You have to have a substrate holding that powder in place, because otherwise it's like it's like you waiting for your teenage girlfriend to put her makeup on. She comes out looking worse than a freaking Friday night.
It needs something. Yeah, it needs something to grip.
Yeah.
On. Yeah.
Because otherwise it doesn't get held in place, or it looks like clown makeup.
Yeah,
you gotta. It's so I tried them early on, and I veered away. I said, no, I like using paints. I like chipping methods. Give me a can of hairspray and some paint, and I'm a happy boy.
We'll get into that hairspray thing in a minute, man. How about you, Michael? What do you?
I use the oils mostly. I use washes too. In fact, I just did this with the wash today. It's my black sails, and now I'll do that. That's a wash. I did 2 coats on it, then I wiped it clear. I wanted a little bit of definition in between the sails. Now I'll go through this, and I'll also do some powders on it, just to give a little bit of, and then I'll go a wash around the edges of a little burnt umber with a little burnt sienna, and then that'll give it a little dirty look here along the edges, but not along the center part. And then I'll dull coat that. Then I'll put the powders on. I found that if you put powders over dull coat while it's still wet, it can ruin your finish.
Yeah.
Because you're using a lacquer and you're touching it, and all of a sudden it's not good.
Yeah.
Kitty's trying to make a jailbreak.
Hey, no, he sees something outside.
I was wondering what he was doing over there.
Hey, boo!
Yeah.
I see the dog out there.
Hey, Dominic, well, he's not there yet. I was going to say, if you don't mind, I'll bring in Steve, but he stepped away. There he is. Steve!
There's always the go-to, too, the Starship filth.
Yep.
That stuff, I'm going to tell you something. That stuff, you know what? If you don't buy any oil paint from that Optilon or MIG, that Starship filth is awesome. That stuff there will dirty up anything, man. All right, give me a second.
Okay, you can take me out. You can take me out, Gil.
You can hang out. Just give me a minute. I want to get Steve's take on this. Steve-O.
Yeah, but how much weight do you do on boobs?
What's happening, Steve?
Glad to be back.
Now we're talking about weathering. What's your preferred method? Whatever you use, like tools and products. When you weather something, number one, when do you decide to weather it up, and how much do you do it, and what do you use when you do it?
Well, it depends on the subject. So obviously weathering differs between armor builds and aircraft builds and even car builds.
Figures.
So I think it just depends on the subject, but I keep it pretty basic. And with what I know, with what I've learned through social media and through our group and through other groups out there, there's so many different techniques out there, and there's a lot of professionals out there that do the weathering with all the products with MIG and AK Interactive, and there's just so much to learn with that, and there's so many different techniques to do with the weathering. But for me, it was basic in the beginning, just using a basic number 2 pencil to highlight bare metal spots on tanks.
I still use a pencil for that. Yeah, I still do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then using some chalks, some different colored pastel chalks for weathering, and trying to do the exhaust stains on aircraft with an airbrush, which is really hard to do. You have to have the knack for that, I would say.
Yeah. Some guys do it really, really well, man. It looks really good when they do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, is learning from the guys here, and especially you, Gil, with the oils and the inks. Even doing weathering with inks, even though it's a permanent thing, you always say when you work with those inks, you got to be very careful, because when you apply that ink down there, it's permanent.
Oh yeah, it stains whatever you're putting it on. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great weathering tool too for getting into the cracks and crevices and such. As long as you're really careful with it. But
yeah.
it's a learning process for me.
Yeah, it all depends too on what ink you use, like Liquitex or Golden. I've been using these AK Next Gen inks on this figure. And most of that color you see on this figure came from those inks. And I really love them because it gives me a nice weathering look to it, like his face, all that other stuff. But yeah, like the oils, I just love using oils, man.
Yeah, and for me, it's just when you're using a lot of flat paints or even the semi-gloss paints, it's really hard to prevent whatever you're using from staining the rest of the color, the rest of the let's say your palette that you're using, whether the palette is a tank or an aircraft. If you don't have a good protective coating over it, then that stain can be there forever.
A lot of people, I see this all the time, and you know what? Good for them if it works for them. They use that Future as a protective coat. Now, Future could be good, but it also has its downfalls, because sometimes that shit don't go on there even. Sometimes you get a beautiful coat on it. You got to remember, Future's a floor wax. It's not made for what we use it.
Right.
You can I like using aqua gloss as a protective cover. The aqua gloss. With figures, I'm using that Krylon, that matte, the UV matte.
Yeah.
I've been using that a lot more and more lately. That, the satin, and the regular clear coat.
You decant?
Yeah, I use it in the bottle cans. Yeah.
Yeah, and back in the day, it was the testers. That's all you had was the testers gloss clear and the testers flat clear, and that was all enamel based, or I think it was lacquer actually.
Lacquer based.
Yeah, that was hard to let in the can. Hoping and praying that actually came out of the can is what was on the lid.
But you remember what happened to me that one time? We were in a hangout. I had a brand new bottle of Dulco, brand new can of it. I shake it up, I shoot this thing, and it's a gloss.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's whatever I learned in the magazines, in the Fine Scale Modeler and the Scale Modeler magazines from back in the day, before Fine Scale. Car modeler, whatever techniques they used in there, I would read. So definitely, like last week's episode, you guys talked about what's your inspiration or what do you use for a reference, and everybody, pretty much agreed it was magazines and stuff that they had read on the internet or things that they grew up with. And same thing with this. When you're doing weathering, you want to kind of research it first so you don't screw up your paint.
Oh yeah. You know what I do, Steve? I look at a lot of guys that do tanks. The guys that do tanks, because they'll weather the snot out of those things. So you look at those guys, them and airplanes. and then those guys who do those junkyard cars. Those are what I look at when I want to do, and those are the guys I reference when I want to do, because that's stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the guys here that are in there hang out with us week to week that I've been watching, Michael and Dominique, and I've gone to shows and I've seen Michael's work with his boats and with his ships and stuff. He does fantastic work, and we have a lot to learn from his techniques.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't want too much weathering is bad. You just want enough to make it look realistic.
Well, it could overwhelm the eye. Is what it could do.
You don't want to stand out. You want to be subtle.
Yeah. Unless you're doing something that's really rusted up and really bad. But yeah, I mean, like what you do, Mike, with those ships, with the decks and stuff. It's subtle, but it's nice. Yeah. You can see the weathering in it, but it's nice. Now, I haven't gotten to that level yet, but I'm trying. I'm going to get there one of these days, But,
yeah.
Oils is if you can wipe away. If you get too much, you can wipe it away.
That's what I like about oils, because if you put it up, you just wipe it down. You just wipe it away.
Yeah. And for me, oils is new to me. Using oils and using inks and such are new to me. So,
but the great thing about oils is also you can invest in a decent set, and you never have to buy it again because the amount of oils is so minuscule that you're using. It just. You're not painting a full portrait. You're just very little here, there.
Little dots here and there. Yeah, little dots and dollops here and there. Yeah.
That's why, I mean, like we were talking about the Starship Filth. You only need one tube of that for life. And if you don't have one, you should absolutely positively buy one if you do not own one. Get it before whatever company is making it now decides to go out of business or something else transfers to another company again. Get it, because it's weathering in a fucking tube. But
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up, Brian.
No, it's okay.
What were you showing there, Michael?
Yeah, we had a art shop go out of business, and I bought a bunch of their paints that I use. That will last me 2 lifetimes.
Oh hell, you could hand that down to 3 generations.
So I'll be long dead, and it'll still be in the.
I ended up throwing out about 3 or 4, or maybe more than that, tubes, because the damn things got hardened on there. I couldn't open them. As I'm trying to open them, the whole tube is turning.
So how old were they?
Oh God, they had to be 8 years old, 9 years old.
So those must have been really far back in the fridge.
Oh yeah. I found them in a little box I had. I'm like, and I was using them for a while, but then they finally said enough. We ain't opening no more.
That stuff I had 20, 30 years ago, a lot better paint pigments than they are nowadays.
Yeah, the older ones. Yeah.
The Gumbacher and stuff from the 60s and 50s are fantastic compared to what we got now.
That's good. Like the yellow was better. The reds were better. Yeah.
And I use oils to paint my ships because I can go in there. Let it get almost dry, go with a Q-tip, and wipe some away, and you see the wood tone underneath, like it's worn away.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that. It'd be hard to do that with enamel or a lacquer, because to get the lacquer to go away, you'd have to use thinner, and it may take off the bottom part too. My goal is show like say red paint, and then you see spots where it's worn. And you see the oak underneath.
Now, Brian referenced Hairsprayer. And I'll tell you what, guys, there's all kinds of chipping mediums, and I'm not going to mention companies, but it's selling. Don't buy that shit. You know what you do? You go and you buy yourself a cheap bottle of this stuff or whatever, but in the bottle, the liquid. And if you got an airbrush or whatever, an airbrush, you shoot it out your airbrush. Put a coat of it on. This stuff here is probably your best chipping medium out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This stuff right here. Well, not this brand, but Hairspray. Because once you put it on, you let it takes about 5 minutes to dry, if that. Now, if you use it, I know guys that use lacquers, they use acrylics with it. They'll spray it over the top of it, let it sit a bit, wet it a little bit, and it starts to come off, exactly where you want it. Or you can let it dry. You get what you wet it just a little bit. Don't soak it, because if you soak it, everything comes off. You just want to wet it, and you can take like a fiberglass pan or something, and just. But the paintbrush does really well. And then you get a toothpick. You can get a little toothpick, put a little scratches in it, stuff like that there. But yeah, hairspray is probably one of your best chipping mediums out there. And this one here, this is 8 years old, this bottle. 8 years old. That's how long I've had it. And it's about that full still. You don't use a lot. I mean, I'm using just a couple of drops at a time of it, And I don't know what I paid for this, but it's
Probably $1 or something.
Yeah, it can't be that expensive, that instead of buying all those name brand chipping fluids, I've got them here and I MF'd them 1,000 times.
$2.97 at Walmart on sale.
My mother used to freak when I was a kid, and I would go and grab her bottle of Aquanet.
Yeah.
Where's my hairspray? What? Oh,
Yeah.
there's nothing left.
Yeah, I know guys that sprayed on right out of the can, I mean, look.
That's what I used on this.
Yeah.
When I used chalk to do all the streaks and all that, and to seal it down, I used hairspray.
Yeah.
Because the regular dull coat made it almost look like water drops.
Yeah.
It would all gather up in little tiny droplet looking things. And
Oh, wow.
The streaks to go away, so I just used the hairspray just a little bit at a time. So I had a nice coat on it. Use it to stand up the vinyl top.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look, the stuff that's in the hairspray is almost the same exact stuff. If you go to any high-end art store that sells pencils and everything and pastels and whatnot, pastel fixative you can get in the can. You spray let's say you did an artwork on paper with pastels, you spray it down with the fixative. It's almost identical to what's in the hairspray.
Now that you met, when I used to do the chalk work, the pen and ink work, there's the charcoals back when I was younger. Couldn't afford the damn can of that motherfucking that spray that I can't remember the name of it. It was a spray you'd spray over it to seal everything.
Fixative.
I grabbed my mother's hairspray, my sister's hairspray, and spray it right over the damn thing. Yeah, look at that. Hold on.
That's why I didn't go. That's why I didn't go overboard on the weathering. Because
Nice.
that's the real car. And
That looks like
Somebody
somebody.
had those in the 70s.
That's impressive. Looks good.
That's a hell of a job there, Dom.
Yep.
Pappy said awkward in here.
Yeah, it doesn't make a damn fine flamethrower.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to get the damn spiders and stuff. Oh yeah, we used to do that all the time. So my mother caught us and beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, but when you live in a house with a bunch of guys, there's no girls. We don't have hairspray,
I use it.
Yeah, but
Speak for yourself.
Combed over.
yeah. Now, as far as pigments, like guys that on a fixed budget and they can't buy pigments, you can get some pastel. You can go to Hobby Lobby and get that set of pastels, but make sure you don't get the oil pastels. The oil pastels is not what you want. You want the regular pastels. You got a box of them there, Brian? I got mine in the back there somewhere.
I gave it to the kid.
What you want to get are the chalk ones, not the oil ones. Because I still use them. I'll grind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you want. But the funny part is that you're really getting back to using powder. It's a different make of the powder's a different make, but you're still getting back to using a powder, which is why I eventually gave all my pastels to Ava. I said, here, just take it, because she loves drawing with them and everything. And I'm like, go ahead. I'm not going to use them. I prefer I like working with a liquid or wet medium that I can sit there and dry out and just take my time and do it the right way. Another thing people forget about when it comes to weathering is not just color. Weathering is also a matter of being willing to be a little daring and take a pin vise or a knife and cars. If you're working on a tanks take hits. Don't be afraid to make a dent in the damn thing. Don't be afraid to put some bullet holes in a Jeep. Be afraid to do something to your thumb, but be afraid to do everything. But don't be afraid to do anything else, because that is just as much weathering of a vehicle or a tank or any piece of armor. I mean, even if you've got a car.
Yeah,
I mean, Dom could very easily sit there and put a few rust holes. I mean, especially living on Long Island, we all knew what rust was on Long Island. Jesus Christ.
I didn't know what rust was until I moved up here to West Virginia, so I agree.
You gotta get a first-hand look.
Yeah, and humidity. Holy crap!
You know what
Yeah.
else was good for and some. I remember a few years back when I first started using them, I showed them to some guys and they gave me some shit over. Cheap makeup.
Oh,
Yeah, powder.
yeah.
Dollar store.
Yeah, go to the dollar store. Usually you find them in the bin where they're $5 for $1 or $3 for $1. The cheap shit. You grab a bunch of. They got some nice golds, and stuff like that. If you want to do like a nice, burnt on your.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And coming from China, you have no idea what the hell's in it. It's like surprise in a box.
Hey, as long as it works for what I need it for.
You don't know what it might do.
That's why I got this knot on my head from that shit from China.
My daughter was over and she says, I forgot my makeup. And I said, well, what color do you need? And I pulled out all these palettes and she goes, why do you have all this?
Yeah, right there. Makeup. I mean, this one right here. This one right here. That
smell like perfume. What does your weathering smell like perfume? Yeah.
That purple right there is really. You take that
Mhm.
and you combine it with that gold. Right there, with that, where's it at? With that gold right there. Right there. And then you got some of that sooty look right here. These two makes a real nice, like a burn effect on pipes and stuff, And it's a lot cheaper. I bought those 3 for what I paid for one of these.
No, yeah, it's my
So to be honest, I've never gone out and bought that stuff before, but I will now.
I'll tell you what.
Nobody will look bad upon you if you buy
Go
something.
to the dollar store, man. You find them in there. And I buy the makeup, the brushes, because the brushes are great, man, for dry brushing.
Yeah,
they're awesome. I mean, I got one there. They're all over here. My desk is a mess.
for gloss stains on airplanes and stuff. Sure.
Oh yeah. And I like these because they're soft, and they're made for that kind of powdery shit.
They're blending. They blend with it. That's what women do in their face. They blend it in.
They're blended, and these things are awesome, man. I got a bunch of them at the dollar store.
Never steal from your daughter's makeup table.
Dude, they got some nice ones up there. And I was eyeballing them one time, and my wife said, "Don't even think about it."
I was online. I was in the aisle with the makeup, and I just had the green basket, and I'm throwing one in after the other. And this young girl's just like looking at me like, "Did you get every one of them?" So it's just like, "Oh, take one of these, one of these, one of these." It cost me $10. I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, but they make great powders, man. And plus, they got all the different colors that you can use on them. They blend them and mix them and stuff. They make great colors. You don't get now. In order to get all those colors, those things there are probably about 4 years old, 3 years old, and I'm never going to use the whole damn thing. Yeah. I got 3 for $1. 3 of them for $1. So why not?
I think makeup powders have a little bit of oil in it too.
Yeah, they stick better.
Yeah, they stick better.
They stick to your model better because you're right. They got a little bit that tiny bit of oil to them, and they stick better, But
yeah,
that's one of the funny side effects of these hobbies is the responses from our wives. Because I was sitting there the other night and I was sorting out. I was downloading some STLs for the 3D printer, and I put them in heroes, enemies, as they present themselves. I put them in the separate folders. One of the folders was called busts. My wife looks at me and goes, "Why do you have a folder of busts?" And I just looked at her. Heads. Oh.
Look at Pappy. I'm 6'3", 260. I shop in the makeup and fingernail polish all the time. Not one word from anyone. You know what? I've got a whole bunch of nail polish in there.
Yeah, well, Fred and Gilbert have an advantage when it comes to that. So,
from Walgreens. And I'm 6'2". I'm a big boy. And I walk in there and I'm looking at the nail polish, and
nobody's questioning it.
They're just looking at me like, and I just tell them I need something that'll match my shoes. And
never wear skinny jeans doing that.
Absolutely, I'm 6'3" and the size of a brick shit house, and it's like
I have stories about that.
What the fuck with them?
What's that, Steve?
I have some stories about that in Germany, but we won't go into that.
We know about those. When you used to get dressed up on the weekends, we know, Steve. Nobody looks down upon you for that lifestyle.
Yes, all right, so moving on.
So now, okay, we discussed powders and oils. So what tools do you use when you're doing it? What is it? What's your preferred? What brushes? We just talked about a little bit about these, the makeup brushes. toothpicks. I mean, what is it that that you use mostly when you're weathering stuff up?
I think for
I
me,
use
to
a
get
brush.
panel lines, it's a very fine brush to get that weathering into the panel lines on aircraft. But I don't think it's necessary because a lot of people just slop it on and then they wipe off the rest. But it just all depends on your finish on the airplane. And like you said, using Q-tips to apply it, or even an airbrush, applying the weather with an airbrush in specific areas. But that's just me.
On my ships, I use like on the sculpers or the gun ports. I'll put a drop of oil, like a dark brown, and just streak it down to where it's wide at the top, but goes narrower, like water coming over, and has that wood and tar stuff look to it that it picks up, and it goes straight down to the along the hull a little bit. I use that, and that's just a little bit of drop, then streak it, and then it works really well. It looks pretty good too.
Yeah, I use like that. I use the brushes like everybody, but I also use these things right here. These pointy ones, the Q-tip.
Yeah.
Now, Tamaya will sell you like 15 of them for $12 or whatever it is at Hobby Lobby. You can go on Amazon and buy 200 of them for 15 now. I mean, that's where I got these. I mean, hundreds. I got like 500 of them for under $20.
You can get them cheaper than that at Walmart. Walmart actually sells the Q-tip brand version of that. Last time I bought them, and it was years ago that I bought it. It was $500, and it was right next to the other Q-tips. It was like $8.
Yeah,
but for the 500 pack, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That and those little micron pens, those little black ones.
Yes.
You can't beat those little things. You get them at any Hobby Lobby, Michael. So you get them online. But those little things for little chipping, you gotta. I got.
My pen works pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do it. I like when I'm doing rust. We were talking about the powders. You get all your rust colors in it, and you take a little powder and some pigment fixture, and you put it in there, and you drop a little. That way, you see that little crunchy look to it. But I see a lot of guys that do fantastic rust, but then I see some guys that it's just rust red. Rust isn't one color, man.
Oranges.
There's all kinds of colors.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of colors in rust.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry.
There's definitely an art to doing rust. There's a guy in my club back in Tucson that's all he did was rust stuff, and you may have seen some of his work on my Facebook group. But he does it's just that's his thing. He does dioramas and does everything is rusted out or has some rust in it, and it just looks very realistic. It's a good job with it.
Guys who do those old cars, they amaze me. Where you have the rust underneath and you have the primer and it looks just really old.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, I'm going to bring Tommy in for a second, all right?
That works.
Yeah, he's got some brushes here he wants to show. All right, Tommy, what you got
I'm
there?
back. Well, you guys were talking about what tools. It's an assortment, And I made one of them little gypsy brushes, that Bill talked about, But I just grab one and I start just rubbing and seeing what works. And you guys were talking about exhaust. So let's see if I can get that. There you go.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And that's done with powder. That exhaust on there. You're talking about rust on my trains. It's done with paint and powders. You get the rusty wheels. Rust everywhere.
Here, you need this. I'm sorry, guys.
But I just use a bunch of different tools, and you just get different effects, and it's not just one thing I always grab. And
well, it's funny you should mention that gypsy brush. I'm painting this big work thing, that I'm doing, And this thing here is probably when I'm painting a figure, this is my best friend. It's a makeup brush. It's the same makeup brush. I just showed you the other one. Where is it? It's a makeup brush, but it comes to a point. So what I did is I cut it down and I made it like a rounded edge. And this thing here, when I'm painting something and I get it a little bit over, I'll dip it in water, I'll get it just a little bit, and it acts like an eraser. You can go in there and just gently erase it. You know? Comes out really nice. This thing here is you get one. It's called a gypsy. They call them a gypsy brush because that's all you use it for. Is you can see there's some paint on the end there from me erasing. But these things work really great, especially if you're weathering. You know, get something like that. Works really good. I mean, like I'm doing the face on this guy here, and I had a little bit. It was I put some. I was using inks, and I went over to one side, and I didn't blend on one side of his face real good, so I went back while it's still wet, and just with that gypsy brush, just very gently tapped at it, blended it all in. It's like it makes a good eraser. Great eraser. So those are the ones you use, Tommy?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. Yeah, but these are generally, I grab something and I start off just kind of working them. And yeah, there's a sponge one.
Yeah, that's that Tamiya one, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, and then there's, and then I have the ones like you, the disposable. Q-tips all the time, even paper towels, tissues.
Yeah, fan brush is a must too. You know, they work really good.
Yep.
So now, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Somebody saying something there?
No, I said also an old T-shirt instead of paper towels. You just get an old T-shirt you're going to throw away anyway. Just use it to wipe off excess.
No. One that I found, a decent set of brushes that you guys might want to look into. Got them recently. They started selling them at Walmart. They're called, I'm blind. They're called Eco Tool. And it comes two brushes. And each there's a brush on each end. And you see, it literally gives you almost every tip you need.
Yeah.
And they're very, very smooth, very fine. I mean, I went out and I, just for shits and grins, and went out and got the whole Army Painters, those 3 stipple brushes.
Yeah.
These are much better than the Army Painter brushes.
Well, there's some people. Again, I don't want to single out, but I've seen them. People selling them for.
Yeah.
And the price they want for them, it's not bad. I mean, anywhere from $30, $40. For $30, $40, I can go to the dollar store or Walmart, wherever, and buy it. I can walk out of there with a bag full of cheap makeup brushes.
Oh yeah.
That work just as well as those high pollutant ones, And not saying, look,
$5.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on anybody trying to make $1. I'm just saying that you can find some really good ones out there, because if it's a makeup brush, you better believe the bottom here is tight on all makeup brushes, and they're real soft on the top, and they're held together really nice because they're makeup brushes, So they work really good, man, for all kinds of weather and stuff. Now, does anybody use those MIG enamels? I never got along with those. Not. I know people that use them and they use them really well. I
have a bottle of it, but I haven't used it.
I've got a whole bunch of them there, man, and I do not like them. I just don't like them. I prefer oils. Tommy's got a bunch of them there.
Yeah. Yep. I've used them.
On that Superbird, everything was Tester's paint.
I'll tell you what I do have, and I haven't used them yet, are these.
You got to let us know how those come. I've been eyeballing those, bro. I've been eyeballing them.
Yeah, they're pretty reasonable right now on Amazon. So, weathering pencils. So they're basically pastel pencils, I believe. And I haven't used since moving here. I haven't been able to bring all my stuff with me, so I'm trying to relearn everything what I can use without having everything, because I have literally thousands of dollars worth of stuff at home. but now I'm in West Virginia working. I didn't bring everything, so I'm trying to find alternatives. So
Thousands of dollars. Let's go tens of thousands of dollars. You got in there.
probably that. Yeah. So yeah, these are nice.
Those look interesting.
Now, there's nothing that we do that's going to be bringing up tens of thousands of dollars. No, but it's all cheap stuff. $5-10 here or there.
I've got a few $1,000s in airbrushes alone.
Yeah. Well, I
Brian
just
remembers
had an air compressor to use while I'm here.
Brian
So
remembers that we're live.
Well,
Is it
I said Brian remembers that we're live on the air.
yeah, he's like, quiet. Don't say that too loud.
I brought this
No,
stuff.
airbrushes are not expensive.
I brought these. This stuff.
No, you know what? I have the paints.
Yeah.
Monument paint. That's some good paint, dude.
What's that one?
It's Monument Paints.
Okay.
Pro Monument Paints.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have some of those.
Yeah. So I brought all that. I'm sure it can be used for weathering too.
Yeah, I like the way they changed that new bottle too, because I got the older bottles.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more in those new bottles. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are, you know what, Steve? Those are damn good paints, man.
Yeah.
Damn good paints. They got some real nice vibrancy to them.
Mm-hmm.
And shoot out of your airbrush beautifully. What you got there, Tommy?
Yeah, is that this stuff Monument, the Pro?
Let
Really?
me see. Yeah, that's the Pro Aqua. That's Monument Paints. Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the applicators you've been talking about, Gil.
Yeah.
Yep. Something that simple. Walmart or wherever.
And they work a lot better than the flat ones do.
Yeah.
You found those on Amazon. There was like 300 of them or something, wasn't it?
No, there was 1,500 of them.
Yeah.
It was
That and a pound of silly putty.
yeah. And then I bought the silly putty. I ended up with like 10, 15 of those, I got a drawer full of silly putty, and my grandson is always trying to raid the silly putty. And we find it all over the carpet and everywhere,
That's why I turned Dominic on. 1 pound, baby. One giant ass
Yeah,
day.
one big one, man.
If you don't already have a set of these pencils, they're pretty reasonable on Amazon right now. I would suggest checking it out, and they're definitely worth to have in your arsenal of tools.
I have a regular set of pastels.
Yeah.
Those.
I've been meaning to pick those up, Steve, but it's like every time I do that, I see paint, and it's like,
Well, yeah, I know it's really nice paint too. So I'm very interested
about the pencils. You have to wonder, because he's not making his own, who's making those pencils and what brand is in the art aisle that's the same maker for $20 less.
I think those have a little bit of oil on them, because I've seen people using like a solvent to streak with that. They put it on there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't tried.
That's what I always do is there's some stuff that I'll buy, like primer, I buy Stylist. That's it. Nothing else. That's my thing.
They say water pencil, so
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, if I see somebody coming out with a product, I always try and find out, do they put their name on it or do they actually make it?
Yeah.
If they actually make it, all right, cool, I'll give it a shot. But if I find out that, company A and company C are selling the same pencil, just as an example, and company A obviously is selling it for $40 and company C is selling it for $20, well, obviously I'm going to go get the same thing. I just want to have the name on it.
Yeah, he's streaking them with water, huh? Well, yeah. Cool. Not bad. I have to look into those.
So those have more weathering colors in them versus a regular pencil set, like this.
That's what I have. I just got
a regular vibrant colored pencil set.
Well, it depends on what is in the pencil. Is it a dried out version of an oil pastel, or is it just a dried out? Just a whatchamacallit?
Well, the pencil's going to have something in there because it's encased in the wood, and you're using it on paper versus a chalk. So there's probably some kind of medium binding it together in a pencil.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that you could use colored pencils on their own. I've seen guys do that on Gundams for years, just use colored pencils and not even worry about it. And it's still,
the color.
I use these to weather with also. I use colored pencils.
Yeah, But what I'm saying is that like the pencils that Stephen was just showing, it might remember how we were just looking at in the plates you had where you rub on as a powder. You can get that pressed powder in those pencils. They just add it, make it a little bit harder, a little more compact to hold the point. So it's a matter of, is it a pencil or is it a where it's like a watercolor that's hardened down, in other words, to be used in that medium.
Yep. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and Tommy put them up there, is those makeup sponges.
Mm-hmm.
Those things right there. James Wappel turned me on to those. And I'll tell you what, I got a drawer full of them here. Get them on Amazon dirt cheap. Those things there, they work better than my Tamiya one does.
They're wonderful for before my Saturday night date.
No, it's just that and those makeup sponges. Those sponges are really good too.
Yeah, everybody thinks Tommy's kidding.
Yeah.
Really helps in getting rid of those crow's feet around the eyes.
Yep. I'm gonna bring Joe in. Hey, Mike, I'm gonna mute you for a second. I'm gonna bring Joe in.
Hold on.
He's got to say. No, you'll be back. Hold on.
No, that's good.
Get out.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
You've been listening to all that. What do you got to say about any of that?
You guys are forgetting a couple of things. For scratches, sandpaper. For areas that have rubbed off, if you put your paint on right, just a 800,000 grit sandpaper, you can get some really nice effects that way.
You know what else works good? 4-aught or 3-aught steel.
Yeah. You don't have to go real hardcore on a lot of this stuff. Weathering can be made very, very simple and not very expensive.
Yeah, a slip with my X-Acto knives gives me a nice scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a thumb like Brian's there.
But Tommy's not wrong. You take your X-Acto knife, you can get some decent scratches if you're careful.
Oh, yeah.
If you run it where you're not cutting into the model, but you're using the blade backwards, you can get some nice scrapes on fenders in that.
I've done that on windshields.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Well, yeah, I agree totally, because weathering also, you can do a layering effect like we talked about with the hairspray. So you do the same thing with the paint. If you put that, basically the primer coat on the bottom, whatever color that may be, like a tank, it may be that red color they use for the primer. And then like Joe said, you just take and sand it and you bring out that.
Now, for those guys that don't know that, Steve, are you protecting that primer before you put another coat on there so you can scratch it? Are you protecting that with some kind of a clear? Because I know I do. I'll spray something to protect it.
You could, but I don't think it's really necessary if you're doing the wet sand it. A little bit of water and wet sand it very carefully. Yeah.
Just don't go through. Try not to go through what you're trying to show.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the hardest part. The hardest part of sanding is knowing when to stop.
Yeah, I think my the way I think when I do stuff like that is figures. I protect every layer. Whether it could be a real small coat, and I do that with everything else. Because I've done that with the figures, is protecting every layer. That way, if I screw up with a color, I can always just take it off without ruining the other undercolor of it. That's why I do it. You don't have to though.
Yeah, and I think car modelers know all too well, like Dominique says. Car modelers, when you're taking and trying to polish off the orange peel, you got to have so much of a coat of clear coat or paint on there, so you don't take off the paint itself when you're polishing.
That's what you're constantly wetting and drying, because drying will show you where it's still shiny, and how much paint is on there, and if you can get to that bottom of that shine and level the whole thing out. Once you're all dull, stop.
Yeah, it works the same for weathering. I think when you're talking about layering paints. So
When it comes
Well-
to when it comes to vehicles and stuff like that, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I do aircraft and even armor, I'm putting 10, 12 layers of paint on it. I'll start out with, I've been going lately with the Sinolres metal primer and just going off of that.
Should we not preface that though, saying you're using an airbrush?
I am using an airbrush.
Because is a big difference between if you're using an airbrush or you're hand painting.
Very true.
Because if you're hand painting and you do 14 layers of paint, detail is gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But the other thing is, you can add color depending on what kind of saturation you want. You can add color by just the thinning ratio. I can thin something down 20-1, and you're not going to get that overwhelming change in color. You're just going to get a slight tone.
Like a faded effect.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you add in your powders or your oils or whatever you're doing, and it just adds to that effect.
Now, Gil, I can see with figures, like when you do figures, there's so many nooks and crannies that you have to protect what you put down, because the slightest little rub off the top of things is going to take that away.
Yeah.
So I can see, and your what you're applying is very sensitive too. So you have to seal it down there, right? So I haven't done a figure yet. I have a bunch of them for Mike, but I haven't done it yet, and I'm kind of like getting that feel for it. Trying to, so when I do go
and
into
especially it depends too. Like if you're talking something the size of this big boy here, I didn't have the metal rod in yet, so I'm handling it. So every time I'd lay a coat down or something, I start to do a little blend. I would blend and fade like what Joe was talking about. Fading out some here and there, whatever. I'd go into the other room, shoot some mat over it, just to protect it. Hit it with a blow dryer, come sit down. And this is the other thing. I saw a guy on a video, never used a hair dryer, he says. Bullshit. This thing right here is your best friend. Keep one around, because I don't know, with lacquers it's a little different, but it helps too, helps speed it up. You're using acrylics and you're on a, I don't know, say you're on a roll and you don't want to wait an hour or so for that thing to dry, hit it with a hair dryer.
$12, Walmart.
Yeah,
Best thing you can buy.
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of them. There's one in the room over there. There's this one. There's two here. Get a hair dryer, man. Just hit it. Same thing with the hairspray. Once you put that hairspray on, hit it with a hair dryer. Dry it real quick and then put your paint on top of it.
Hair dryer, not heat gun.
There's a difference. I know guys that use the heat gun, but they've been using them for years, so they know how to use it. So
I'm just saying, for any novices out there, hair dryer, not heat gun.
If you want to,
heat gun, melt.
If you want to dry paint quickly, it's not fully cured, but it's really good. Try Weathering the Warlord Titan. I have, Josh. Josh says try Weathering the Warlord Titan. I have, and they're a pain in the ass. They're a pain in the ass.
I can imagine.
Especially if you're doing what I do with the chassis work and all that. Just one of those little Night Titans, the chassis work on that alone takes me a day and a half to do it. Right. And then you're hitting each one with each layer with a blow dryer, and you're making them dirt, because you could do some real nice weathering with just paint. Just paint alone, man. You can do some real nice weathering. Like, I don't know if you'd be able to see this guy. This right here on his belly. That's just I haven't put anything other than paint on that. This right here.
Give us a close up. Go.
Let me see if I can. There. Let's see.
Yeah, put the camera on you.
Hold on, let me put the camera on you.
Oh, twins.
That's good. Yeah, perfect.
Twins.
That right there.
Yeah.
That's just paint. There's nothing else in there yet. I'm gonna go in with some inks and dirty it up a little bit.
Some layers of paint.
That's layers of paint. That's 5 layers of paint there.
Yeah.
You know, that's 5. There's the Stynel res and then 5 layers of different layers of paint on there to get that weathered look on there.
Yeah, nice.
So I mean, you could do it with paint. It's really, I mean, it's fairly easy. You just gotta, you gotta take your time when you're doing it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do some real nice work. I mean, even like stuff like what Dominic showed there. I mean, it's subtle because he wanted it to look like that. And what did you say you used? All paint.
It's all Tester's paint.
All Tester's paint, and it looks weathered. It looks really nice. So you could do it. I mean,
it's over 20 years old, that model. So really, that was all I really knew about was Tester's paint back then. A little bit of chalk.
What you got there, Tommy?
Oh, I just set them down. These are just showing there.
Yep, the weathering on the bottom. Like the weathering depends on where you're applying it, what your subject is. You know, bottom, top, whatever, wherever. You know, especially on aircraft.
And don't forget those IPMS judges. They'll want to know exactly what theater it was in and then what day and time and
I can tell you
what the hell the pilot had for lunch. And
yeah,
you know what?
It was yeah.
Speaking about planes, my dumb ass just ordered that Meng, that Fokker, that wing Fokker, that Meng repopped. So I'm gonna be doing that, and I'll weather that one up. I got
the triplane, the Fokker DR1.
Yeah, the DR. I love that plane. You know, the DR1.
Yeah.
And I just ordered it from Brett.
Nice.
I've got I think I've got a DR1. It's the Blue Max. It's in 124. It's huge. It's 124 scale that a friend sent to me.
Yeah, that's not the Ming. That's a different brand. But I know you're talking.
Oh yeah, no, it's a totally different brand. But I remember I was taking it and looking at it, and I'm like trying to fit it up, just a dry fit. And I'm going, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Okay.
A biplane or a triplane?
It's a triplane.
Wow.
It's the Red Barons plane.
Yeah, think World War One.
Yeah, I had too many in 24th scale. I always look for them. I have it.
It's not. This one's not 24th scale. I think it's a 32nd scale, isn't it, Steve?
Well, the main one is, but the one that Brian's talking about is a 124th. It's made by a different company. Yeah.
It's a decent kit. It's one of those. It needs a little hand holding.
Yeah, I was sitting there just going through Google, and I saw the plane. I thought, shit, I want that plane.
Yeah. Nice.
Brian, to answer your question, these are based on the Battle of Santa Cruz, October 26, 1942.
Nice.
So there's a specific date.
Okay, cool. No, with Tommy, I never get surprised that he knows that stuff, especially after him building the Enterprise. I don't get surprised if he's got it planned out like that.
Did his seat smell like farts? Did he shit himself or what?
But I guess the consensus then would be you don't need a lot of damn stuff to do weather.
No, not at all.
You know, you could do it with oils. You could do it with pigments.
You can do it with dirt in your backyard.
Play with it.
I know somebody that uses tea bags. They'll take tea bags and they use tea bags, you know, for their instead of like a sepia or whatever, they're using the juice from a tea bag.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
9:32 Eastern. We're talking about teabagging already. Oh, okay.
But if you're going to experiment, protect what you've already done.
Or don't experiment on the
Well,
mountain.
experiment on something you don't give a damn about.
I think that's probably the best word of advice that's come out of this whole thing. If you want to try to weather, to get to where you can weather stuff the way you want to, not the way we do it, the way you want to.
Yeah.
Do it, but don't take your absolutely best build to date and experiment on that. Build something up, paint it up, and go to town. I did that with an airplane 3 years ago. You know, I was working with oils. I wanted to weather the crap out of it just to see what I could do.
Here's the other thing. Don't let anybody tell you over-weathered something or you under-weathered something. Especially airplanes or tanks.
Oh, they tell you they were never that dirty. Yeah, right.
They were never that color.
Dude, if you see pictures, if those planes were in the Pacific, they were absolutely filthy.
Yeah.
You know, they were just filthy. You could go out if you live near a military air base, you see them planes flying overhead. Steve, you were in the Air Force.
Yeah, I know how dirty they got. I worked on
Things
them.
are filthy. Unless they're the what do you call it, the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, the rest
I
of
worked on cargo airplane. They weren't clean. So
them things are not clean. They are filthy. The one thing I will say, and I don't know before we close, is, and this has been my pet peeve. Tell me what you guys think. Steve, you airplane guys. When they do that post shading or pre shading, they're too dark. That pre shading is
I don't like it.
it's too. It just makes it look like a cartoon.
right. And
I
to
don't-
me,
it's
a lot
not-
of the panel lines aren't really there. So
Yeah.
It's not as realistic. When I do an airplane, part of the stage for painting, I'll do one overcoat where I hit everything. And then I'm dialing it back. And the more I dial it back, the further I am away from the panel line. I get the same type of effect, but I don't have to post shade it. I don't have to pre-shade it. I get that same type of effect.
Yeah, I see a lot of beautiful bills, and then I see the paint jobs, a gorgeous paint job, but then you look at it, and those panel lines just do not look real, man.
Because the
The
average
thing
person.
I see them do that with cars, and I just feel like if you have to limit yourself as to how much paint you put on the car after that. Like if you want to put another coat of paint on, now you're going to drown out what you put on the bottom, and I don't feel comfortable with that. You know, like, I'd rather do it afterwards. Go with a little bit of tint in the lines and stuff like that afterwards.
That's why I tell people sometimes to take a note from the Gundam builders. We will wait until the very end before we panel line anything. You know, we'll do everything else first because you're right. Otherwise, you're painting over it. How are you gonna see it? And yeah, I've seen these guys. It looks like they took, and I've seen people use a Sharpie marker and a whole lot, and it just looks like crap. And another thing is that unless the plane has sat out in the junkyard forever. Planes are designed, their body panels are designed to be one skin, come together. And when you do your model, that's how you should approach it. Because people don't understand the meaning of the word scale when it comes to those panel lines. They'll do everything else wonderfully, even if they're scratch building, but they'll have the most gaudy looking, literally, if you would walk up to a real plane with the panel lines that they're putting onto their models, SR-71s didn't have panel lines that far apart.
And they're also using black to do it.
Yeah.
Black is not a shadow. It's too dark. It jumps up and hits you in the eye. If you look at a shadow, you've got different gradients to that shadow, black,
Exactly.
A shadow is not black. It's like a carbon black color, it's got different colors in it,
The funny thing is, you'll always find somebody that'll just be a wizard at that anyway. Completely opposite of what you do, and they will do an amazing job.
Oh no, I know people
And-
that can do
and
that.
You just scratch your head and you go, "Hey, all right."
Look, you got Matt McDougall, you got people like Will, all these plane builders, these good plane builders, and you see their work, and it looks homogeneous, it looks natural. But then you see other guys that are in the books, and you look at their work, it's beautiful. The paint job is gorgeous, everything's beautiful, but those goddamn panel lines they hurt my eyes, man.
The one critique that I have, and I guess it's because it's not my preference to do it, is when the panel lines are all exactly the same.
Yeah, you got to have some variation in the color, Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean.
You see real aircraft in person or pictures of real aircraft. You may see panel lines, but they're not the same. Some are much darker, some are lighter. The chipping around it is not, it's random. It's not so precise.
Yeah.
That's the key word, random. Not every subject is the same,
It's like Josh is saying, is that like Zenithal Prime? And don't get me started on that, because you know what I think about that. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. It works, but when you see people doing it on these, some people doing it on YouTube. Oh, I'm Zenithal Prime. That's gonna look great. Then they paint it. All that beautiful highlighting they did is gone. You know, you can do zenithal priming with your actual paint.
Yeah,
you're painted. Case in point, this figure I'm doing here. I've been documented it on Facebook. Everybody has seen it. Yes, it was primed black. Yes, I went in because I was sitting here and I wanted the light to come in from this side. I moved this light around all the time. I wanted the exact way, so that's how I primed it, coming from this way. But when I laid down the paint, that's where you got to take that zenithal priming into account. You got a lighter side here, you got a darker here. If you're going to make this lighter, don't bring that all the way across to that zenithal prime, because then you'll blow up all that beautiful work you just did.
That makes sense.
You'll blow, and it looks like shit. And then you're looking at it, then you got to go back in with inks or whatever and establish those lines again. So it's like, if you're going to do a zenithal prime, always remember, the lighter it is, the lighter your paint goes in, the darker it goes. You just don't want to blow up. I'm sorry. When you go into your shadows, you want to go lighter in there, so that shadow underneath pops through a little bit. So that I didn't mean to jump off. I was just answering your question.
Let me say this, okay? My preferences are not everybody else's preferences.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Lord knows that's the truth.
Well, Brian, you don't have any preferences, but
no, I'm easy.
Well, he's got a preference, but they sing YMCA all the time.
Well, that's very true. It's your model. Build it the way you want to build it. Paint it the way you want to paint it. Take all of the advice you get, all the stuff that's been said over the last hour or so. Use what you can use, and if you don't want to use the rest, toss it. But understand how many different angles you can get on weathering. It's like anything else. Everybody's got a different opinion of what weathering should be.
Yeah. What I think it should be isn't what you guys would like. Some guys like Dr. Cranky used to love that dirty, rusty stuff. I'm not a big fan of that, but I can admire it from a distance because I like what they're doing.
Yeah. If it looks good, if
it looks good, you admire it. It doesn't matter if it's your preference or not. But if you're doing it, find what works for you. There's a whole bunch of different things out there, like what Pappy just said here. Car builders are the same. He's got it right here. Some builds look like models or toys, and some look like the real thing. You got some beautiful, fantastic car builders out there, man. When you look at that car, it's like, holy shit, man! It looks like a 1-to-1. Then you see some that are either too shiny or not shiny enough, or whatever, But
they have lint all over the damn thing.
Got lentils on it?
Lint.
Oh, lentils.
Yeah.
Hold on, we're having a meltdown.
Uh-oh.
Dominic wasn't paying attention to it.
That's it.
More power.
Nuclear reactor's going to blow.
Evacuate Long Island.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, if you guys got any questions for these gentlemen here, you got Steve Sutton, Scale Model Kit Review. He does some fantastic stuff. You can find him on YouTube and on Facebook. He's got a community on Facebook. He's got his YouTube channel. The rest of these guys don't have YouTube. Well, Joe does. Joe's got a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Does some really great work, Fighting Joe's Hobby Bench. That's what your channel's called, right?
It's just under my name, Joe McCaslin.
Joe McCaslin. Yep, there it is.
Hey, can I promote something just real quick?
No, please do.
This just happened the other day. So I have a Facebook group. It's Spaceship Modeler, and Steven Dimzo just joined. And he doesn't do this normally, and he even put it out there. He said, "I don't do this," but he's building some fantastic props, some movie props.
Nice.
Put them up there, and it's, if you all know Steven Dimzo, he's from ILM from back in the day.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so he just joined the group, and he just started throwing some photos up there.
Oh, so that's why you were all excited when you put on there,
Yeah, Steven Dimso. So check out Spaceship Modeler. It's a great site. We have a lot of people on there, a lot of talent, and a lot of that talent does come from these groups here that Gil has in his groups too. So share the wealth. So
I want to give you guys one last thing before we close. We always talk about brushes. We're always talking about brushes, and you know, you hear these people tell you you got to have a Windsor and Newton or a Raphael. I mean, lately I've just been using my old broken toads. But I bought a couple of Windsor and Newton. I mean, I've got a bunch of them. They're Series 7s, but I bought two Series 7s miniature brushes. I'll never do that shit again. Not because it ain't a good brush. This one brush cost me $30.
Mhm.
One brush, $30 friggin' dollars. And do I need it? Nope. I can do with this brush with this big ass brush here. I can do the same thing with this one. But my stupid ass, I gotta have it, and then when I got the bill, I'm like, I don't need it that bad. So
No. You got that on sale. It was originally $30, but you got it on a deep discount for $7.95.
it was $17.99 and $10 to ship it from Illinois. 30 miles from me. 30 miles from me it came.
Sucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Saw your ass coming.
Okay. Come on, brother. Black Rifle Model Works. Another guy. He's got a great YouTube channel, Black Rifle Model Works. He does really good work, phenomenal work, and he's doing the interview. Who are you interviewing tomorrow, James? He's interviewing a figure painter tomorrow. So if you're not, put your link in the chat, man, so you can get it. I'm going to drop, Steve, drop your thing for your group in the chat, you know, for the sci-fi model. And I'll put in the scale model kit review.
all right.
I'll get that one. You get the other one. So these are great communities, guys. You know, if you don't belong to mine, but you want to belong to another one, hey, by all means, man, just, you know, please, you know, go check them out. You know, there's some fantastic work in these. This is Steve's scale model kit review. He'll put the other one up. Let me drop in James here, his Black Rifle, his YouTube channel. Where we at here, and then boom. And I'll drop in Pappy's too, because if you guys want to see a damn good figure car builder, check out Pappy. You guys got to check out Pappy. West Coast Rods and Customs. West Georgia Rods and Customs, I should say.
And he's modest, but check out Gil. If you haven't really checked out his work, you need to go look at it.
Yep, especially here lately with the eye work that he's been doing on that that creature he's building. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it, Gil?
It's an ogre, but I'm calling him Amos Moses.
Okay.
Remember that song from Jerry Reed?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling him, because he's got that big old stump and he hits the alligator.
Cool. Super cool looking.
Yeah. Dude, those eyes, man, they came out. You know what? I got lucky. But what I did was when I painted it, I put in like a dead white in there and just, you know, I had pencil marks where I wanted the iris. So once I put the white in the pencil mark, I could still see it. So I just took a little Stynylrez and this number 2 brush and just boop, a little black dot, and then dropped a little yellow in there, dropped another black, and I set back and I went, holy shit, that looks nice.
Yeah, they're not Zotz decals. That's painted.
No, those are not decals. Those, yeah. And then I went in and today I didn't like the way they were looking, Steve, because they looked the yellow was just, they looked nice, but it needed something. So I went in with a 4-0 brush and did the little lines in there, you know, in the iris, and then took made a little bit of like veins on the side here, and then let that dry and put a watered down some sepia, just really, really watered down, you know, real thin, and just glaze it over. And I stepped back and said, no, don't put it no more. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah, looks nice.
Yeah. He's coming along pretty good. Yeah, I got a lot of work left to do on him, but
I really like the way you airbrushed that bruise on your forehead too, and the oil work.
Oh, this thing here.
Yeah, that's realistic, man.
That's my Florida tattoo there.
No.
Mama busted me in the head, man. Bow.
Seriously, when you first posted the picture, it looked like the butt end of a Glock. I'm like, oh, maybe she did actually hit him.
Dude.
Go make me a sandwich.
That's what I told her. I'm gonna tell everybody I told you to make me a sandwich, and then I woke up in the backyard and didn't know what the hell hit me. I got my ass fucking beat, But that's what I get for being stupid, not watching where I'm walking. Tripped over an oak tree's the root, bam, busted my head open, man. So, all right.
Tammy.
Oh, I busted myself up real good. So, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully next week we'll figure out what to talk about next week. I'll talk to these guys and we'll get some ideas for next week. If you guys got any ideas of what you want, talk about. If not, we're just gonna come out and just talk a lot of shit. Who knows? Get drunk and talk shit.
And that's different how from any other week.
That's
Waiting to refill this.
There you go. I'm gonna have me a drink and finish my cigar. You guys have a great 4th of July weekend. Stay safe. Don't blow them fingers off. You guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone.